Hello everyone, this is Chang with the Pacific Asia Travel Association, the Department of Sustainability and Social Responsibility. Tourism presents both opportunities and challenges for bridging the gender gap. As a sector with a majority of female workforce worldwide at 54% and most women in low-paid or informal work, the economic shock to tourism caused by the COVID-19 has hit women the hardest. When we talk about designing tourism recovery plans, sustainability cannot be achieved if any of the vulnerable groups are left out of the new scheme. So, while women mainly concentrate in low-skilled jobs in tourism, what prevents women from progressing to higher level positions? How can we empower women to increase their representation in decision making within tourism businesses? Today, Pada spoke to Sophie Hartman, the regional platform coordinator at the Association of Southeast Asian Social Enterprises for Training in Hospitality and Catering, or ASSET-H&C in short, to examine the impact of the COVID-19 on women workforce in tourism, particularly those from marginalized communities, and how to leverage women's skills and empower them to pursue sustainable professions in tourism. Good morning, Sophie. Thank you so much for your time today, and we are very excited to have you with Pada in this interview series. So for the benefits of our audience, to get us started, would you please introduce a bit about yourself and the work you are doing at ASSET-H&C, please?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this great initiative. So my name is Sophie Hartman, and I am the coordinator of the Association of Southeast Asian Social Enterprises for Training in Hospitality and Catering. So in short, ASSET-H&C. So in a nutshell, ASSET-H&C is a unique network of tourism and hospitality vocational training centers that target students coming from a vulnerable background. The network currently gathers 15 schools across Southeast Asia, and our members distinguish themselves by the quality of the training that they offer for free to disadvantaged young people, as well as by the fact that they operate income-generating businesses like an hotel, a restaurant, a cafe, or maybe a bakery shop that first enable the students to practice their skills in real life settings, but also allow the school to generate some revenue to finance part of the training.
Thank you so much for sharing with us the amazing work you are doing. I actually visited a few of the training schools like Kodo in Vietnam and Ekbok in Cambodia. Was totally impressed with the work all the trainees are doing. So I would like to jump straight to the current situation of the COVID-19. Why has the COVID-19 affected the women workforce in tourism so severely, in your opinion?
So women represent half of the world population, and yet, as we unfortunately all know, there is still a long way to go in order to fully reach equality in terms of rights and opportunities. So when it comes to their professional life, women still face a number of barriers that prevent them from thriving in the workplace. These barriers are multiple and often interlinked. They include unequal opportunities, gender stereotypes, conflict between their professional duties and their family duties, as well as gender-based violence. And in the case of the tourism industry, actually the nature and the dynamics of this sector further exacerbate this barrier due to different factors such as demanding working hours, seasonal variability, or the distance between the tourist area and the residential areas. And this has been further highlighted by the COVID-19. When a crisis like the COVID-19 strikes, usually those who are at the bottom of the pyramid suffer the most. And if you look at the tourism workforce, you will realize that women, they are overrepresented in low skills and therefore more dispensable jobs. So as a result, as compared to men, they suffered greater job loss. Another factor is also that women are more vulnerable to informal work, and the instability and the lack of protection that will characterize informal employment leave them further exposed to the downturn in tourism. Finally, there are also many women who work in this industry who are actually migrant workers. So these women will face a double layer of discrimination because of their lack of their recognition in the country where they are working. So as you can see, there are still many challenges. Yet, despite these difficulties, tourism can offer a strong level for social and economic inclusion of women because this industry offers greater opportunities for women participation in the workforce, and also because, as compared to other industries, there is a narrower wage gap. Yet for this, women need to be offered sustainable job opportunities.
Thank you so much for sharing with us your insights. We all know that the COVID-19 right now is the biggest global crisis of our time, I would say. Do you see any opportunities from the COVID-19 crisis for the tourism industry to actually build up the momentum for women empowerment?
Yes, of course. So, as you said, we are currently experiencing a very difficult moment for all tourism stakeholders. But at the same time, this offers opportunities to build back better. So the COVID-19 crisis is really questioning the sustainability of the whole industry. And at the same time, it's putting to the test its capacity to preserve its most important asset, which is its people. So obviously, putting people first is a matter of ethics, but at the same time, customers are increasingly calling the industry to find ways to better distribute the benefits of the tourism with the communities in the countries where they are traveling, especially the most vulnerable segments. So yes, COVID-19 could offer opportunity to further advance the gender agenda.
Thank you, Sophie. So with the possible opportunities that the crisis can bring, what do you think that would need to be done to ensure that female workforce will be included in the decision-making process of the crisis response and recovery planning, considering that many women are working in tourism as informal and seasonal workers?
For me, one of the difficulties to implement measures to empower women is that there is still a knowledge gap. And by that, I mean that data that are segregated by gender are still scarce, especially if you're talking about people working in the informal sector. And when data do exist, they usually focus on the quantitative side and not on the qualitative aspect of women employment. Yet this kind of information is key in order to inform measures to help women improve their situation in the industry. And if I can make a comparison with what we do at ASSET-H&C level, well, all our members are committed to promote women's access to education by paying special attention to gender during student recruitment. And as a result, 54% of our students are women. But actually, there are some members who push much more further the principles of inclusive education, and usually their efforts to mainstream gender in all their activities started with data collection. Indeed, if you are the management team of a school, and if you are asking yourself, how do we make sure that this ideal of offering the same opportunities to men and women really materialize in our decisions and in our operations? There is a very simple answer, which is start looking at numbers. Look, for example, at dropout rates. Is it the same for men and women? And if not, why? Same applies to job integration. Do female graduates find a job as easily as male graduates? And again, why? So this kind of approach should apply to the whole industry. And that's the reason why it's important to have tourism stakeholders or authorities who are there to promote or even facilitate the collection of this kind of data. This kind of information for educational actors like us is also very precious, as it can help us to constantly adjust our training and also to better prepare the tourism professionals of tomorrow to address gender issues in the workplace.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I find it very interesting when you talk about the importance of data. When we talk about data, everyone thinks like data might sound boring, but I totally agree. Data is very important because it can actually direct us to what needs to be done and what should be done in order to actually achieve the goal. So thank you so much for that. So as we've been talking about the knowledge gap of the women workforce, so how can we actually, like bridge this knowledge gap and upgrade the women's skill set during the time of the COVID-19 crisis so that the women can be more resilient and adapt better with the next normal in tourism industry?
So when you're talking about women empowerment, education is really a critical area because gaining more knowledge will empower women to take better care of their health, to fight for their rights, to protect themselves from harmful practices, and also to challenge gender stereotypes. But actually, if you compare again men and women, you will realize that women tend to have less access to education and training. The COVID-19 crisis, which actually disrupted the education of more than 90% of the world's student population, has called back on the stage a very long debated question, which is how do we leverage the opportunities brought by new technologies to improve access to and to improve the quality of education, especially in developing countries. So this could clearly help to promote women's education. And of course, people will say that new technology will not solve all problems, and there are still barriers in terms of internet access. But during the crisis, some schools have been able to come up with smart and creative ideas to overcome these barriers. Also, the COVID-19 has made self-directed learning a reality and a necessity for many learners across the world. And this trend will probably continue over time. So this is the how. Now, an interesting question is also what? What kind of training should we give to these women to help them make a successful and rewarding career in the industry? And if you look a little bit at the situation, you realize that many companies in the tourism industry still underutilize the abilities of their female workers. And this is partially due to gender stereotypes. The role of women in this industry is still too often perceived as an extension of their prescribed household duties, such as cleaning or serving people. And young female workers who will lack female role models around themselves will internalize these stereotypes and actually underestimate their own capacity to become successful leaders. So on top of technical skills, young women who want to enter in the industry should also learn to believe more in themselves and to take care of themselves, their rights, their career. At ASSET-H&C levels, these competencies are actually taught in the frame of what we call life skills. And life skills trainings do not exclusively target women because gender sensitive education is also supposed to encourage men to prevent harmful practices in the workplace and also advocate for more gender equality. Another topic could also be entrepreneurship. Indeed, the tourism industry offers options to women for entrepreneurship that does not necessarily require heavy startup investment. That having been said, you don't become a successful entrepreneur overnight. And some women who might have a lower level of education actually may have a limited understanding of what is required to create and manage their own little business. And they can do very basic mistakes like, not doing any market study at the launch of the business, or confusing their own resources with the resource of the business, and so on. And these actually can compromise the sustainability and the success of their business, and in turn also put at risk their own financial situation. So helping these women to gain a deeper understanding of how a business can run and be successful would be another lead to explore in order to increase their resilience.
Thank you so much, Sophie, for sharing with us those insights. I'm very impressed with the point you raised about how women should learn to believe more in themselves and also to take care of themselves. I think the self-belief and self-care is very, very important in this time, especially during this challenging time of the COVID-19. And that's why I'm very amazed and appreciative with what you guys have been doing at ASSET-H&C for the life skills training. I think it's very, very important. So if you can say like one sentence about the future of tourism after COVID-19, what would that be?
Well, I actually will probably copy one of the slogans of UNWTO, people first. The tourism industry is a people industry, and well, the COVID-19 show how important it is to take care of its people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you very much.